On 24th December 1999, Indian Airlines flight IC-814 takes off from Kathmandu. This flight is going to Delhi, and usually it takes 2 hours to reach Delhi from Kathmandu. But the passengers and crew members on this flight are unaware that this distance to Delhi is going to be very far for them. This plane is hijacked by 5 people, and these hijackers demand $200 million from the Indian government to release the passengers. Along with that, some other big demands like releasing some terrorists from the jail. For the next 7 days, the whole country watches this scene on television news. Let's understand this incident in depth. After the flight took off from Kathmandu, the passengers are served food. And when the passengers were eating their lunch, suddenly, 4 masked men appear. They announce in the flight that this plane has been hijacked. The hijackers quickly enter the pilot's cabin and instruct Captain Devasharan to fly in the direction of the west. Actually, the hijackers wanted to take this plane to Pakistan, so this plane moves ahead from Delhi to Pakistan, specifically to Lahore Airport. But the Pakistani air traffic control at Lahore Airport strictly refused to let us land here. On the other hand, India's air traffic control gets a news of hijacking at 4:40 p.m. Indian air traffic control tries to contact flight IC-814. Captain Devasharan informs them that fuel is being depleted in the plane and they are not allowed to land in Lahore. Captain asks Indian air traffic control to ask Pakistanis to give us permission to land because the hijackers are getting frustrated here. The hijackers are threatening to start killing the passengers if we are not allowed to land in Pakistan. At 6:30 p.m., the Indian High Commission in Pakistan requests Pakistan to allow the plane to land in Lahore, but the permission is still not given. Meanwhile, the captain of the plane, Devi Sharan, tries to talk to the hijackers that the fuel is very less in the plane. We cannot wait for their permission here. We will have to land somewhere to refuel the plane. They are successful in convincing the hijackers. At 6:44 p.m., the flight starts descending towards Amritsar. Flight lands at Amritsar Airport and is immediately requested to fuel the flight. The hijacker wanted to communicate with the Delhi officials, and this communication was not getting any results. Captain Devasharan once again requests to refuel the plane. If refueling is not done, then these terrorists are threatening to attack the passenger. Once again, Captain Devasharan requests that the refueling of the plane be done as soon as possible. 40 minutes pass in the meantime. At 7:45 p.m., Crisis Management Group makes a plan and gives an order to the Punjab Police. They think, why not hide some officers of Punjab Police in the fuel tanker while refueling the plane, and they can puncture the tires of the plane. Once the tires are punctured, the plane won't be able to fly again. But before bringing it into action, the ATC has another plan. Why don't we take a fuel tanker in front of the plane to block the way? So a fuel tanker starts moving towards the plane. But the driver of the fuel tanker was driving a little fast, so the ATC thought that if they go so fast, the hijackers might think that something is going wrong. So the driver is told to drive slowly, and that driver, miscommunication or whatever it is, suddenly stops the fuel tanker. The hijackers and the captain in the cockpit see this happening, and the hijackers wonder what is happening. Earlier, the car was coming towards us very fast and then suddenly stopped. There is some problem here. They are trying to play a game and the hijackers are frustrated. They say, enough of refueling, the plane will be taken back to the air. Without refueling, Captain Sharan is immediately pressurized to fly the plane back to the air and ignore the fuel tanker standing in front of the plane. Hit him. Do whatever you want, but fly the plane back to the air. Under pressure, Captain Sharan again prepares the plane for takeoff. While speeding on the runway, he is saved from the fuel tanker, which was in front of the plane again, went into the air. This happens exactly at 7:49 p.m., the same time when NSG's commandos reach the airport. The operation completely backfires. NSG's commandos don't get a chance to take action. At the time of takeoff, Captain Devisharan sends a message to the ATC, "We are all dying." Lahore is only 50 kilometers away from Amritsar, and this flight once again turns towards Pakistan. Once again, Pakistan's air traffic control denies permission. "We will not let this plane land in Pakistan." They were in danger that the hijackers would pressurize the pilot and forcefully land at Lahore airport. So, at Pakistan airport, all the lights are turned off. All the navigational aids and lights at the airport were turned off. So that even if the plane wants to land, it is very difficult to do so without lights. But the pressure on Captain Sharan is so high from the hijackers that they say, "We don't care if the runway is visible or not. We want the plane to land. Let it land anywhere." The flight slowly comes down, and suddenly Captain Sharan realizes that he is going to crash land on a highway. Seeing this, he makes a final request to Pakistan's air traffic control. "We will crash land on a highway if you don't let us land at our airport." Hearing this, finally air traffic control agrees with Lahore airport, and this plane lands in Lahore at 8:07 p.m. There is no permission to land. The next landing of this flight is at Al Minhad Air Base in Dubai at around 3 in the night. After a tough negotiation, the hijackers finally release 26 passengers. The passengers who are still in the plane are getting worse and worse. There is a severe shortage of food and water. The toilets are in a bad condition. The plane takes off again. And this time, it goes towards Afghanistan. On 26th of December at 8 a.m., the plane lands at Kandahar International Airport. And after landing, the Taliban authorities offer to mediate between the hijackers and India. At that time, Taliban was ruling Afghanistan. So India sends an official from Islamabad's High Commission to Kandahar, Ajit Dobhal, who was a part of a special team sent by Kandahar to negotiate with the terrorists. In Kandahar, hijackers tell their demand to be given $200 million, and along with that, they demand the release of 36 prisoners. The Indian negotiators reached Kandahar. Taliban clearly denies that they will not allow any rescue operation to be conducted by the Indian forces. But they do say that they will negotiate on your behalf. And the negotiations go on like this. There are tough negotiations here for many days. The Indian negotiators team is here. In the middle there is the Taliban, and on the other side are the hijackers. Ultimately, the demand of the hijackers is narrowed down to a large extent. Instead of 36 prisoners, only 3 prisoners will be released. The credit for reducing the demand for hijackers is given to both Indian negotiators and Taliban. People were losing hope. The then RAW chief, A.S. Dulat, reached Jammu on 30th December. He tried to convince Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah to release the 2 prisoners. Farooq Abdullah was very reluctant. But eventually, the pressure was such that he had to listen to this. These prisoners are taken to Delhi and sent to Kandahar by an external affairs minister, Jaswant Singh, on a flight. The next day, on 31st December, the demand for hijackers is heard and 3 prisoners are released in Kandahar. On the other hand, the hijackers also release the passengers on the plane. With the members of the Pakistani gang, hijackers and released terrorists are taken to the border of Pakistan. On the other hand, the passengers are also in danger. Many passengers are injured and most of them are starving. They return home on 31st December. This hijacked plane is retired in 2001 as it is already 20 years old. There is a good news after listening to this story, and that is after this, there has been no hijacking incident in the country.